Hi, my name is Zane Chams, and welcome to Chai and Chat with Chams. With me, I have the one and only, the Right Honourable Lord Mayor of Brisbane, Mr. Adrian Schrinner. Thank you so much for coming on Chai and Chat with Chams.
It's an absolute pleasure. And yeah, we do see a lot of each other.
Yeah.
Often you're emceeing at an event or dancing on the stage as well.
Sure. And so, Lord Mayor, how
You can
this
call
works?
me Adrian. Don't worry about it.
Thank you so much. Okay. Well, Adrian, and so we begin. Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, the first question I have, Adrian, gosh, I feel very nervous saying that. A couple of months ago, we had the cyclone hit Brisbane. What was going through your mind for those first few hours, not just as a leader, but also as a human being having to take care of other humans?
It's actually the mayors that chair the disaster management committees. And so the mayors of every council in Queensland are responsible for leading the disaster management. And we work with state government agencies. And so there's a lot of responsibility on your shoulders there. For this cyclone to come, not knowing exactly how strong it will be or how much damage it will cause and then exactly where it will hit. It was that waiting period that was just I think it was the worst. It was waiting that was the worst. Once something happens, then your interaction, your sleeves are rolled up and you're responding and you're making decisions. But nothing like this had happened in Brisbane for 50 years. And so
Will change in these coming times with the 2032 Olympics coming up. As Brisbane prepares for it, what is something that excites you the most about it?
I think the biggest opportunity is that most Olympic cities are already known. So people know them. People know Paris. People know Tokyo. People know London. People know Los Angeles. And you could list so many cities. The vast majority of them people already know. Brisbane, even though we know it and love it, is still largely unknown.
Yeah.
It's a city that's largely unknown, a region that's largely unknown, and we're about to be known. And so this is the once in a lifetime opportunity to be known. The key now is to actually, we don't want to be another city. We are authentically Brisbane, and that's unique. So getting that pitch right and making sure that the world is like, wow, that's a place that I want to come and visit.
Yeah. What have you personally learned from the communities that shaped how you lead, how you think?
There's a pretty destructive debate going on at the moment around immigration.
Yeah.
This country has been built on so many generations of migrants from all over the place, and it is a wonderful place. And yes, we need to keep it that way.
Brisbane having a lot more belief and strength, especially, in troublesome times, whether it is about, the state of immigration or also about, things like the cyclone and things like that. The way you lead is something which truly is inspiring. So thank you so much.
Very kind of you, and thank you for having me on, and thanks for sharing this amazing chai with me.
Three, two, one. Check. Are we ready? Let's go then. Hi, my name is Zane Chams, and welcome to Chai and Chat with Chams. With me, I have a present, a leader, a change maker, and someone who I get to see very often at very many events, running around, the one and only, the Right Honourable Lord Mayor of Brisbane, Mr. Adrian Schrinner. Thank you so much for coming on Chai and Chat with Chams.
It's an absolute pleasure. And yeah, we do see a lot of each other.
Yeah.
Often you're emceeing at an event or dancing on the stage as well.
Yeah, no, that's right. And, I must say, me and the entire team, we always love listening to you talk, because you do talk a lot about infrastructure and change, and it's not just the same repeated thing as well. So a lot of us always love sitting down and listening to you talk, and then also your smiling face during our performances as well. So thank you so much for the love you give us as well.
Oh, no, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Sure. And so, Lord Mayor, how
you
this
can call
works?
me Adrian. Don't worry about it.
Thank you so much. Okay. Well, Adrian, so basically the way this is going to work is we have three different chais, three different types of chais happen. And so according to that, the questions sort of change. So there's about 2 to 3 questions in each segment.
Yeah, okay.
And it's a very laid back sort of thing. But especially being the first podcast, I do apologize in advance if there's any part where I'm not as professional as I'd like to be. So
Hey, me too.
okay, thank you so much.
You and me both.
Okay. Well, what we'll start off is with the classical Punjabi chai. I shall pour it for you. And so we begin. Cheers.
Cheers.
Is this your first experience with chai, Mr.?
No, I've had plenty of chai, but not. I must admit, not across the nuances of differences in taste and flavor. So you might have to talk me through that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, this a lot of the chais are sponsored by a company called Chai Walli from Melbourne, and so this lovely lady, she heard about the podcast, and so a lot of people actually started to reach out, being like, "We want to be involved." So classic Punjabi chai has a lot of that taste of sort of the very Punjab sort of sweet taste, and then eventually you're going to try 11 spices and golden chai, which has a bit more masala and a bit more of that zing to it, and that's when the questions might
Get a bit
also
spicy.
Yes, that's right, exactly. Well, the first question I have, Adrian, gosh, I feel very nervous saying that, is so this basically phase is called the human behind the title. I know that a couple of months ago we had the cyclone hit Brisbane. What was going through your mind for those first few hours, not just as a leader, but also as a human being having to take care of other humans?
Well, I guess the thing, if you think back to the cyclone, we didn't know exactly when it was going to hit because it kept on changing speed and direction. You remember the predicted time, and then it slowed down. It even went in a circle and then came back again. And so it was that waiting period that was, it built up a lot of the pressure. A lot of people don't realize when it comes to disaster response, it's actually the mayors that chair the disaster management committees. And so the mayors of every council in Queensland are responsible for leading the disaster management. And we work with state government agencies. And so there's a lot of responsibility on your shoulders there. And so, waiting for this cyclone to come, not knowing exactly how strong it will be or how much damage it will cause, and then exactly where it will hit. It was, a really concerning time, but you also knew that, there's real impact here. Potentially people's houses were going to get damaged or flooded, and these are real impacts. And so it was that waiting period that was just I think it was the worst. It was the waiting that was the worst. Once something happens, then your interaction, your sleeves are rolled up and you're responding and you're making decisions and you're, directing resources and helping out. But it was that waiting period. And I know the whole community felt that as well. People, there were some people who were saying, it's not going to be a big deal. Other people who were very worried, and everything in between that. So there's a huge responsibility, and that's not something I take light. That is not something I take lightly. So, it was I'm glad that period was over.
Yeah, no, I'm very glad that we didn't get affected as much and things. But I must say, I know that the steps you took, it made sure the entire community felt safe more than anything. I know a lot of people in my dance team as well. We were just following hour by hour every time you were on the news, just to be like, okay, what do we need to do to be prepared?
And, it was new for most people. There were some people in the community that had experienced cyclones elsewhere, but, nothing like this had happened in Brisbane for 50 years. And so not many people remembered it. And, and so there are plenty of, and migrants as well who, this is not something necessarily that they'd experienced before. So it was really one of those things where we were all on a journey to learn how to respond. And I was proud of the community, the way that everyone, took it seriously and got as ready as they could.
Yeah, and I'm sure the community feels the same about having someone like you as well guiding us. So thank you so much for all of that. The next question I have, Adrian, is you've led through moments of a lot of uncertainty, a lot of pressure. What personal principles or experiences help you stay sort of grounded when the stakes are very high? I mean, I know the cyclone is one thing, but I know that you're very much involved in infrastructure and the Olympics coming up, there are a lot of stakes which do get high. You have to think about a lot of different communities as well in every decision you make.
I think so. Once you're into a day, and once the work starts, and these days are full on and they're long. I think having something at the beginning of the day that sets you up and grounds you is really important. And so for me, it's a couple of things. It's whenever possible to try and get out and go for an early morning walk. And so I live in Carindale with my family, and we're quite close to Bulimba Creek. And so walking along the Bulimba Creek pathway, or the bikeway, that's something that if I start the day that way, it's always going to be a better day. And, you might get to see a koala or two, which is pretty special. The other thing is coffee. Now, I wouldn't operate without coffee. I don't think there's not much blood in these veins. There's a lot of coffee in these veins. And I think there'll now have to be chai in these veins as well.
Yeah.
But I have a coffee ritual in the morning, and it's a bit different to a normal coffee. So most people, they might have black coffee or make their coffee on milk. I actually have it with condensed milk or evaporated milk because it's got a different flavor to it.
Yeah.
And a dash of cream. So I have coffee with condensed or evaporated milk and a little bit of cream. And it's quite unique. I don't think you can get that anywhere, but I just make it at home.
Yeah, they actually do have chai with condensed milk as well.
Okay.
And so I know that, it's very interesting. You're a very avid coffee lover, clearly. But I know that your relation to coffee and things like that, a lot of people feel that towards chai. In fact, I often joke around with my team that, don't talk to me in the morning. I'm a bit cranky until I have my chai and things. So very interesting. And that coffee is something you make for yourself in that routine? Or?
Yeah, so I make it for Nina and I, and for both of us, it's an important morning routine. And if we've gone for the walk and we've had the coffee, it's going to be a great day.
For sure. Well, this is a perfect segue for the next question, which I have, which is before the suits and the chambers and things, who was Adrian Schrinner? What were like the early moments that shaped you, the memories which you have? Especially shaping your decisions in the position you are today?
Well, it's important to remember that, I grew up with a migrant father in the suburbs of Brisbane, and he always, and my parents always instilled in me a gratefulness for this amazing place that we live in. And so being born here, often people can sort of become accustomed to what we have here, how amazing it is, and just get used to it and think that that's normal. It's not normal. You've traveled, what we have here is pretty special. Yeah. And so particularly my father, who came from Germany, he was just a small boy during the Second World War. And as a 23-year-old, he migrated here. And so he loves this country and appreciates it so much and seen it as a place of opportunity. So he always instilled in me that we have to give something back to the community. We have to be of service because this is such a great place. And so originally as a boy growing up, I always felt that what I could give back was to join the military, to be part of the Australian Defence Force, and is a way of giving something back to the country. And so that's what I did when I left school. Right. I expected my entire career would be in the Defence Force, and particularly the Air Force. And that didn't turn out the way I expected. And so I did join the Air Force. I stayed in for a short period of time. Yes. But it wasn't the outcome that I expected. I wanted to be a pilot in the Air Force, and obviously that's a uber competitive thing, and a lot of people miss out, and I was one of those people that missed out. And so ended up mapping a different career path, but service was always going to be part of that. And what can I do to make sure this place that we live in is great and stays great and give something back? And so being of some kind of community service was always part of that.
Right. And so you would say that it shaped a lot of your leadership style and qualities as well?
And that's the thing. For any leader, if they make it about them, it's not the right priority. It's got to be about who you're working for, who you're serving. And, this is a servant role. We are serving the people when we're in a position of leadership. It's not this is not a king kind of situation.
Yeah.
This is the opposite to that. We're a servant, and remembering that each day. And I guess the fact that, I will always feel just like a boy from the suburbs of Brisbane, but grateful to live here, grateful to be in a role where I can be of service.
Yeah, lovely. Well, that's a perfect segue to my next question. But before that, let's move on to our next chai, if that's okay. Our next chai is golden chai. Okay. Out of the two, what do you feel, Adrian?
A very different taste. This tastes a bit like it would with evaporated milk. That kind of
Yes.
It's got that kind of flavor. I don't know if it does have that in it.
Well, yeah,
like
so just even when I recently went to India, I went recently to MC for a wedding from Rajasthan, which is where I got these cups. And so just every state you travel, every city you travel, the chai is just made differently, whether it's condensed milk, whether it's how long it gets boiled and things like that, or how many spices get added. So golden chai, I feel like, is one of those which it tastes very, very different from the rest. So
yeah, there was a clear difference there. And I'm not experienced enough in chai to be able to describe the difference, but yeah, that was clearly different to the first one, but I like it.
Yeah, well, I'm sure at all these events which are upcoming, especially during Diwali, which, by the way, happy Diwali.
Yeah, and to you.
So I hope that, eventually you'll be like, guys, I'm okay. I would like chai right now, please. So, Adrian, the next question was a segue from the previous one. Was there like a defining moment where you realized public service was your calling, and when you thought this is exactly what I want to do? Like, I know that usually with decisions, it's sort of like a thing which happens over time, but a moment who you would say perhaps, or a thought or a person who you looked up to at a particular point in time?
In terms of where things have taken me, no, there wasn't a defining moment, I would say. But one thing that defined the way I thought about politics and political service was actually goes back to school. And even though throughout school I wanted to be in the Defence Force, I will never forget learning about the story of Gandhi and the pathway to independence that India took, and the way that all unfolded. It was fascinating because never has there been that kind of change in a non-violent way. Yeah. And usually countries go through these civil wars when there's major change that happens, and the non-violent change and the way that Gandhi led that was just incredible. So for me, that it was just an eye-opener about, so much of history is about war and violence and destruction. Yeah. And, to see the independence of India and learn about that in school, and then to look at it now as, this amazing democracy, the world's largest democracy. Yeah. It was quite an inspiration, but it got me thinking about things differently. And, obviously balancing up the fact that I wanted to be in the military and defend Australia with also the non-violent change, change is possible, and this is the preference to have change in a non-violent way. And so, that was a defining part of my journey. And usually I say this when we have the India Day Fair, I always talk about this because, it was a key defining moment.
Would you say, so you feel that if you didn't go down to the path of politics, you'd probably go defense, perhaps back then or even now, if this was not on the cards, if this was not something you decided to pursue, what do you think the Adrian would have pursued otherwise?
Well, if it wasn't either for the Defence Force or sort of going into the public service, more than likely I would have ended up running the family business. So my parents were in business together. They ran a suburban cleaning business, and they're now retired. And effectively, when they retired, the business wound up because there was no one to take it over. And, I know that they're, if I was open to running that business, they probably would have asked me to run that business. But obviously, I had other things on the go. That's probably what I would have been doing, running a suburban business.
Oh, okay. That's very interesting. Not something I could actually get research about. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Lovely.
And look, as a teenager, I worked in the business. So my sister and I, both in school holidays, would work in the business and on weekends. And so, it was something we understood and were involved with. But
enjoyed or?
Oh, yeah. Look, as a teenager, you on school holidays and other people are doing, going to the movies and, doing other things, and I'm at work, you sort of sometimes were envious of what other kids were doing, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Looking back, I'm actually so glad that I had that experience. So
yeah, I guess at a young age, your leadership skills and qualities, as well as perhaps discipline, was perhaps from key aspects like that.
Definitely, and it was a great opportunity that my father and mother gave us to work in the business, because you quickly learn that no one works harder than people in small business, and particularly those businesses which are just, either a sole operator or partnership where, there's no, if one of them gets sick or gets injured, there's no one else to do the work. And so they've got a lot on their shoulders as well. And so, having that experience in small business was really important.
Yeah. Speaking of small businesses, I know a lot will change in these coming times with the 2032 Olympics coming up. So as Brisbane prepares for it, what is something that excites you the most about it, with the growth and the changes that are going to happen? And what is something also that you hope never changes in Brisbane?
I think the biggest opportunity is that most Olympic cities are already known. So people know them. People know Paris. People know Tokyo. People know London. People know Los Angeles. And you could list so many cities. The vast majority of them people already know. Brisbane, even though we know it and love it, is still largely unknown.
Yeah.
And, we just saw something recently where the Courier Mail and their media partners internationally surveyed some people on the streets of London and New York and asked, do you know about Brisbane? And most people didn't. They didn't know anything about Brisbane. There was one lady who said that she knew, and it was interesting. So it's a city that's largely unknown, a region that's largely unknown, and we're about to be known. And so this is the once in a lifetime opportunity to be known. The key now is to actually get that pitch to the world right, and that's something that's going to be quite complicated, because we don't want to be someone else. We don't want to be another city. We are authentically Brisbane, and that's unique. So getting that pitch right and making sure that the world is like, wow, that's a place that I want to come and visit. Yeah. And not just for the Olympics or the Paralympics, but, this is something I want to come to as a tourist. This is a place I want to invest in, and maybe even a place I want to come to live in. Yeah, no, for sure. And I know the work you're doing with infrastructure is stupendous. I think, a lot of times when we're talking as well within my dance team and stuff, just the changes which are happening rapidly and will continue to happen rapidly. I myself, as a civil engineer outside of all this space, I know it's just exciting to see all the projects that are coming up. And it's funny that you mentioned the fact that, Brisbane's still sort of that unknown city. So recently I had a show in Dubai, and so there was a lot of Americans and Canadians, and so it was a huge event. And so I had about 6 other MCs, and they asked me, where are you from? And I said, Australia. And so then I said, Brisbane. And a lot of them did not know. They were like, oh, is that a city in Australia? Yeah. Because they know, the Sydney and the Melbourne. That's right. And they're still confused about what's the capital of Australia and things like that. And so then I had to explain to them that, no, Brisbane, it's a beautiful city. It's where I've grown up. And I cannot wait to, eventually when I do these bigger shows and after the Olympics, just having it on the map of the world. So, Yeah, and so our experience. So with a global city, like I said, they're already known, and it's more of like a, they're reminding people that they're still great. They're a great city, and they're reminding people we are still great. Whereas Brisbane's prospect is different. It's like, you don't know us yet,
Yeah.
but it's an amazing place, and we're not trying to pretend to be those other cities. We are different, and we want to keep it that way.
Yeah. It's setting our mark in the world, I guess. And you've got to see Brisbane. I mean, a lot of the cities in Australia, but you've got to see Brisbane evolve into one of the most multicultural cities in Australia. What have you personally learned from the communities that shaped how you lead, how you think? I'm sure every decision you make, you sort of have to consider all the different multicultural communities as well.
It's interesting. Having my dad come as a migrant obviously shapes my views as well, because it's been a place of opportunity for my family and for my dad. And I can see it's been that place of opportunity for generations of migrants that have come through. And if you look back, you know that with every generation of migrants that comes through, there's challenges when they come here, because the culture is very different, and there's getting established can be challenging, but then that culture is then accepted as this is part of Australia, and to watch that happen progressively. And so there's always teething problems, and we need to be honest about that. But think about this with my dad. Okay, so he came to Australia 15 years after the Second World War, and Australia had been in conflict with Germany. And a lot of Australians had died on the battlefields. And so just think about this. There still would have been in the community this thought about Germany. There would have been a perception about Germany. And so Dad coming here, he was obviously a small boy in the war, but he was aware. But having said that, if you're prepared to come here and work hard and become part of it and give something back, it's amazing how Australia is different to other places. There are plenty of places around the world that still haven't forgiven each other for the Second World War, for past conflicts, and that grudge they hold for a long time. Whereas, Australia welcomes people from Germany, from Italy, from Japan, places that we had been in conflict with, and that's one of the reasons why we're different. And so, the other thing that I've learnt from the multicultural community is just how it is one of the driving forces of this country when it comes to innovation and entrepreneurship and hard work. And so, our economy would not be as healthy as it is without migrants that are working so hard and investing and creating new companies, creating innovation, employing people. And so it is a key driver of Brisbane's success and Queensland's success, and you see it every day, like amazing migrant business stories. And just coming up very soon, we've got the Lord Mayor's Multicultural Business Awards, and the stories that you hear there are absolutely incredible, and they're inspiring.
No, I'm excited to hear a lot of those. So yeah, are we ready for the next one?
If you're ready, I'm ready.
Okay, this next one is the 11 Spice Chai. Okay, the final chai, final round.
Is there something you say when you drink chai? Is there a particular?
Usually, it's funny because whenever people have chai, they always make this sound, like this bubbling of. And so they use it in almost every Indian ad. And I'm sure, notice it now every time someone has chai. You will notice that every time it happens.
It's funny, but so my son, who's called Wolfgang, ever since he was a baby, he made that sound every time he drank something.
Yeah.
It was always the sort of,
yeah. Yeah, I always found it very weird whenever my dad did that. And then now when I'm doing it and the youngsters in my team notice it, they're always like, gosh, you're old. So Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that is also very different to the first two. Wow.
Yeah. This one has a lot more spices in it. So in 11 spice chai, they have cardamom and, oh gosh, I can't remember a lot of it. But if you would like, you can take some home, and
So it's got fennel,
so can your team.
cardamom, cinnamon, clove, star anise,
Yeah.
and a lot more. Ginger,
Mm-hmm.
aniseed. Yeah, okay, wow.
Yeah. There's also this thing about chai. Like I think I have at the top. It's called kadak chai, which means like strong chai. Yeah, it's strong in a sense that it's like it hits in the spot. And so a lot of people sort of relate it to their childhood and how they made chai with their mom and dad and things like that. That's a perfect segue for my next 2 to 3 questions. One of them is, was there a particular moment with you, Adrian, where a powerful encounter you had with a resident or a community member where that reminded you why you love what you do? Because I'm sure there's times where you had to develop resilience, and there were times where like, gosh, I really just need a holiday. But then something that re-inspires you, someone says something perhaps.
Well, it's not just one thing. And you're right. I mean, the way things are these days, everyone's empowered to, if they wish, to criticize very publicly things that you're doing. And, in the past, people would talk at barbecues, and if they had a gripe with the council or the government, they'd talk about it at a barbecue and, talk to their friends and neighbours about it. But now it's on social media, and they can comment on anything that happens. And, there can be a lot of negativity around anything you do. And so even a decision that, you're absolutely confident is the right decision, and you've seen the evidence and the information, and, you've talked to a lot of people about it, and you think, I'm very confident in this decision, it's the right decision. Still, there can be a lot of criticism over something like that. And so you're right, there are times when you have to get that inner strength to continue on. But the thing that reminds me, and the thing that gives me the most job satisfaction, is actually when we do the citizenship ceremonies in City Hall.
Yes, yeah.
And that happens at least once a month, and sometimes every couple of weeks, depending on the number of ceremonies we're having. And so you have 1,000 people in the main auditorium of City Hall, of which 500 are new citizens. So there's 500 people becoming new citizens, and then they get to bring a guest along as well. And just looking around the room and seeing the next generation of Aussies coming on board, and seeing how much they love this place that we live, that is something that just gives me energy, and it's a lot of excitement for the future. And there's a pretty destructive debate going on at the moment around immigration, and I think it's fair to talk about, okay, we have a housing shortage, right? And that is a legitimate thing. Infrastructure needs to catch up, and that is a legitimate thing. But Australia has always been built on immigration.
Yes.
Like, this is not a new thing. And so, this debate has to be held in a positive and constructive manner. But, my dad came here as a migrant, and even a lot of the people who are speaking on migration at the moment and debating this, they've had family, or they themselves came as migrants. And so, we need to remember that.
Yeah.
And so, by all means, it's a democracy. We have debates about things. But just remember, this country has been built on so many generations of migrants from all over the place, and it is a wonderful place. And yes, we need to keep it that way. And so it should never be about whether migration is good or not. It's quite clearly been good. That question has been answered.
Yeah.
Sure, you can debate about the numbers and how many people should be coming in a particular year. That's legitimate thing to talk about. And so, but I see the people who are becoming new citizens, and I see they love this place.
They do.
And they want to work hard, and they want to contribute to this community, and they make it richer and more vibrant.
Yeah. I mean, in my team itself, there's a lot of international students. So the best thing about them is that they all really do love this place. And so thank you so much for, touching on that, I just have one final question before we wrap things up. It is, so when people look back years from now at your time as Lord Mayor, what do you hope they remember from the headlines, not just from that, but also the feeling you left behind in Brisbane?
Look, you never know how people will look back. But what I know is that, the things I do each day, in the end, it's more of a feeling that people will get rather than any particular thing. And so if there's a feeling that people look back on and say, this was a period of great momentum for the city, then I'll be happy, because I genuinely do feel it. It's something I see and I feel. There's momentum. This city is moving. This city
we could just hear it in the
going
background right now.
somewhere, and there's so much happening. And so, it's easy to forget there's a lot of cities around the world that are experiencing decline. And so they're losing people. People are leaving and going elsewhere. They're having hard economic times. And, not to say that we don't have challenges. Of course, there's challenges, like I said, of a housing shortage. We need more housing. We need to keep building infrastructure as the community grows. These are challenges. But having said that, there's great momentum. And so if people look back and say this was a time of great momentum for Brisbane, then I'll be happy.
Yeah, no, for sure. I can definitely tell you that from what I see, that is definitely the case. I know that a lot of the multicultural community, or whenever I get to be present with a lot of these events happening, whether it's from Onam to the Garbas to now Diwali, everyone is always all praise about just how fast and rapidly Brisbane is moving forward and growing as well. And I know there's a lot of hiccups and things, but your leadership quality and styles, which you mentioned before, defined from your upbringing, has really shaped it into Brisbane having a lot more belief and strength, especially, in troublesome times, whether it is about, the state of immigration, or also about, things like the cyclone and things like that. The way you lead is something which truly is inspiring. So thank you so much.
Very kind of you, and thank you for having me on, and thanks for sharing this amazing chai with me.
No, for sure. I look forward to a lot of conversation, especially during Diwali. I'm sure I'm going to run into you a lot more often. And
I think I'll be seeing you later on this week.
That's right. This week. And I would also like, if before you go, we usually have this thing where we ask our guests to sign a cup, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. So that's our Chai and Chat with Chams cup. And so if we could have your autograph, please, sir. Just on the back, if that's okay. Yep, that's right. Thank you so much, Adrian.
Thank you.
And before you head off, if there's any message you'd like to give out to the podcasting community, I'm very, very grateful for my first podcast. I get to begin with you. It truly does mean a lot.
Well, I think my message was, please support Zane. He's doing an amazing job, and he's so networked in with the community. So make sure you share this podcast, and we want to support Zane.
Thank you so much. Okay, well, that wraps it up. Thank you so much, and I hope you continue watching after this special first episode with the Lord Mayor himself, Chai and Chat with Chams. Thank you.